my name is Duev Cohen, and I'm the VP Client Strategy at FreeMind. And today I want to share with you how we work with our clients and how we build the strategy to submit grants and to maximize your grant submissions. So the way we work with clients, so first, we need to learn about them and about their technology. So we'll start with getting information using a projects table. Then once we have that, we'll build a strategic assessment. We'll dive into specific projects for the first submission, and then we'll prepare the grant. So this is the topic of my colleague's talk, Danny, that will be after me. And then we'll update the strategy. And basically, so this is a cycle, and I will dive into each one of those parts. So this basically builds the FreeMind multi-submission approach. So the way we do it, we start with the projects table, because first we want to know what are your needs. And for you to know what to put on your projects table, you need to understand what is fundable. What can you get funds for? So basically, my answer to that is everything, because you have grants for exploratory projects, preclinical IND-enabling studies, and clinical trial phase 1, 2, and even sometimes phase 3. So regarding budgets, we're in the ranges of $200,000 and $500,000 for exploratory, $500,000 to $3 million, $500,000 to $3 million for preclinical, and more than $3 million for clinical. So once we understand that, what I tell the clients is that the projects table is your dream list. So in this table, you can put all the projects that you're working on and all the projects you want to work on, but you don't have the fundings for. Because as I just said, there are grants for everything from very early stage to clinical trials. So what's important to start with is first is to understand what are the indications. So what are the indications you're focused on? What is your solution? Do you have preliminary data? And what do you need funding for? What is your next step? Then what's also very important is, do you have collaborators? Are they in the US? Are they outside of the US? And what is the timeline? When is your project starting? So once we've understood all the projects, what we need to do is to find the opportunities. And this is the hard part, basically, because there are too many. At the end, there are more than $70 billion allocated annually to non-dilutive funding. So you have the National Institute of Health, you have the National Science Foundation, Department of Defense, you have private foundations, you have other agencies. So where to look? And so the first thing I suggest you should do is first to go to the NIH reporter. You put your keywords, your indications, and then you can look at the grants that were previously funded for this specific indication. So it can give you an idea what they are interested in. Also, you can understand which of the 27 NIH institutes is interested in funding your project. So this is the first step. Next, once you've understood that, you can go to grants.gov. Grants.gov is a database of all the available grants, and it can be very overwhelming. So what you should do is put your keywords and scroll through the options, You can use some restrictions, ask only for NIH grants, DoD grants, and then you can compile a list. Next, we have eBRAP. eBRAP is a place where you can find Department of Defense grants, like the US Army, the USSOCOM, the CDMRPs. Those grants will be found also on grants.gov, but if you know you're looking for a DoD grant, you should go definitely to this one first. And next, the private foundations. The private foundations is the hardest. Why? Because there are so many private foundations. How do you know if a private foundation will fund you? So this is the hard part, because most of the private foundations we know, they fund academics. They have very low budgets. And so what we do at FreeMind is we screen all the time for new private foundations, and we have a database of private foundations that will fund companies and that have budgets that are relevant to companies. So next, what's important to understand is you have 3 types of submissions. First, you have the unsolicited. Unsolicited mean, we call them also the parent solicitations. It means it's mostly in the NIH, and those solicitations are open. They don't have restrictions of science and indications. You can submit whatever you want. And then the relevant institute will be the one reviewing your applications. So those parent opportunities are, first, you have SBIRs and STTRs, and you have R01s and R21s. So for SBIR and STTR, you have to be a US company. All the work needs to be done in the US, and this is why we have the alternative of the R01s and R21s that are open to foreign components and foreign applicants. Next, you have the solicited opportunities, which are very specific usually. They are looking for a very specific landscape, very specific indications, and very specific projects. They will, a lot of time, tell you exactly they are looking for exploratory. They are looking for these types of experiments. They're very restrictive. In both cases, you should reach out to a program officer to make sure that your project is a fit, but especially for the solicited ones. So we have that in the NIH. We have specific SBIR opportunities. There are R21s, R01s, U01, which is a collaborative agreement from the NIH, where if you're awarded, you will work side by side with the NIH while completing your project. We have the CDMRPs, the Department of Defense, ARPA-H. They have very specific projects also that they release from time to time. And lastly, you have the BAAs. They're some kind of in the middle between the unsolicited and the solicited. They will give you some restrictions. They will give you some specific topics they're interested in, areas of interest, but they won't be restrictive too much with the science. They're looking for a therapy, but they will not tell you exactly which type of therapy they're looking for. So once we understand all the choices we have, we compile a list that is called the strategic assessment. So it's usually a very large document where we put all the information of the solicitations that are relevant to all the projects. And it can be very overwhelming. So once we have that, we go over it with the client. And then we have to understand very important things. What are the priorities? What are the projects that you want to fund first, but also what are the deadlines? Because if you have a project that is very important to you to fund, but the deadline is in 6 months, but in the meantime, you have a deadline coming up for a second project, you don't want to wait. So this is why what we do, we build a Gantt chart. And we build the Gantt chart together. What we do at FreeMind, we never stop working. We go from application to application. And that's why having a Gantt chart of what do you want to start with according to your priorities and according to the deadlines is very important. So you're sure you're not missing any opportunity. Also, when a solicitation seems very interesting, we need to discuss, if it's a solicited one, we need to discuss the project fit. It needs to fit perfectly the solicitation. And what we want to do is to cast a large net. What we always say is we don't want to put all of your eggs in the same basket. We'll take one project and we'll submit it wherever we can, and we'll see what catches. Because sometimes there is a project that the NIH will reject, but the Department of Defense will love and will fund. And it happens more than once. Okay, so next, what we do, once we decide on a project, let's start with the first one. We're not done yet. We need to dive into this specific project. And this is when we build the one-pager. So what is the one-pager? This is an internal document. No one is asking for this document except for us at FreeMind, because we want to make sure that this project is perfect and is very competitive. So in the one-pager, we'll need the background. What is the significance? What is the innovation of the project? Do you have preliminary data already? Next, the specific aims. What is the hypothesis? What are the questions that you're asking? And then, how will you answer those questions? And which is basically the experimental design. And lastly, what are the milestones that you want to achieve? And this is basically the skeleton of your project. Next, we need the technical part. What is your budget? Does the budget fit the solicitation? What is the timeline? Who will be the PI of the project? Does he have the right credentials? Should we look for someone else? Do you have CROs? Do you have collaborators? Do you need an expert in a specific field that you're missing right now in your company? So that was the technical part. And this builds the one-pager, but it's not it. What is very important is to tell the story. So it's very compelling and very competitive. We will modify the story. We will not modify your project, and that's very important. You have goals in your companies. We will not change your science just to fit a solicitation, but we will try to tell the story a little bit differently, so it's better received. Once we have that, then we go to the grant preparation, and that we will hear about it by our very competent grant consultant and group leader, Danny, right after my talk. And then we'll update the strategy. And actually, this part is something that we do all the time. So we talked about the strategic assessment. We defined the project. We submit it. We receive feedback. This feedback is very important because it helps us to resubmit if the grant was not awarded, and it can help also other projects that you have. So what we will do, once you submit 1, 2, 3 applications, we will update the strategic assessment with new priorities on your end, with new opportunities that come out. We will use the reviewers' comments the summary statements that you will receive. We will reach out to program officers. We will ask, how can we improve? How can we make it better? And we will resubmit. We will rethink the fit. As I said before, there is a project that can be very well received by one agency, but another agency will not receive it well, so we will not resubmit it here. We will focus on the second agency. So the way we do it is the multi-submission approach. We submit and resubmit. We submit to the same project to different agencies. We change and evolve and get better and more competitive applications each time until we hope that you get your award. That's it. Do you have any questions for me? Okay. So now I'll make place for Danny, and I will be available behind the scene if you need me. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
SBIR in general?
Yes, of course. So at the moment, there are no SBIRs. We're all aware of that because the reauthorization of the SBIR program hasn't been approved. And this is not because of lack of, there is no question if they want to reauthorize. That's what I mean. They will reauthorize the SBIR. The question is, how will it look? Will it be the same or will it be better? And when will it happen? At the moment, the SBIR is quite low on the list of priorities for the budget of 2026. And this is why we've seen delays. We don't know yet what will happen, but we hope, and we're still very sure, that there will be a deadline before April. We don't know when it will be. And if you look in the website of sbir.org, they tell you to continue working because if the SBIR is reauthorized, there might be a deadline in 2 weeks. So this is what we know. We don't know more. We're waiting. We're always updating ourselves. And we have newsletters that we send out every time that something out comes up, so you can hear about it from that. Anything else? No? Okay, thank you very much.